What is happening for him? Today, we have a story that proves that if your spiritual leader starts picking your husband like he's picking a fantasy football team, you need to run fast. This is the story of a woman who had a good man, lost him, and spent the rest of her life paying for a decision she didn't even fully make herself. We shall just call her Grace. Grace had been with Daniel for 6 solid years. Not 6 situationship years, not 6 we're still figuring it out years, 6 real years. Daniel wasn't a billionaire, he wasn't flashy, but he was stable. He owned his own business, he took care of himself, and most importantly, he took care of her. Grace didn't come from a wealthy background, and Daniel knew that, so when things got tight, he showed up. Not with complaints, not with control, but with support. Their relationship wasn't hidden. Her parents knew him, his family welcomed her. Both families were already talking about wedding colors before anyone even proposed. And then Daniel proposed. Valentine's Day, a fancy restaurant, down on one knee. Grace said yes without hesitation. Wedding date set, November 21st. 9 months to plan a future. Everything was finally lining up, or so she thought. Word of Grace's engagement traveled fast, too fast. Soon it reached her pastor, who we shall just call Pastor Pompous, a man she respected deeply, a man people called Papa, a man known for visions, prophecies, and spiritual authority. He called her into his office, not to congratulate her, but to question her. He asked why he was hearing about her wedding from outsiders. Grace apologized respectfully and explained she wanted everything finalized before seeking his blessing. That's when the mood changed. The pastor reminded her of his long-standing rule: no marrying outside the denomination. Grace tried to explain. Daniel was Catholic. His faith wasn't casual, it was rooted. He believed in God, he served God, just in a different building. But Papa wasn't satisfied. He demanded a man-to-man conversation. Daniel came to church one Sunday, respectful, calm, well-dressed. After service, they spoke, and Daniel said something that should have ended the issue. "Pastor, I respect you, but my faith is part of who I am. I don't believe God measures love by church labels." Polite, firm, honest. But honesty doesn't work on people who already decided the outcome. 4 months later, 5 months left to the wedding, Grace was called in again. This time, Papa's face was serious, heavy, prophetic. He said he had been praying, and according to him, God did not approve of the union. He said Daniel was not her divine husband, that the marriage would fail, that disaster was waiting, unless Daniel joined their church, submitted to weekly prayers, allowed the union to be purified. Grace was terrified. This wasn't just a pastor. This was a man people believed could see the future. So she went back to Daniel, begged him, cried. Daniel refused, and for the first time in 6 years, they fought badly. 2 months later, the pastor introduced Grace to Samuel, a brother in the church. "This is your God-sent husband," Papa said. "I have seen the signs." Grace felt nothing. No connection, no warmth, no peace. But Papa told her love would grow, that obedience mattered more than feelings. And slowly, fear won. Grace returned Daniel's ring. Daniel didn't beg, he didn't shout, he just broke. He moved away, changed his number. Cut all contact. 6 years, you're erased. Grace married Samuel, and within 1 year, the mask fell. He became disrespectful. He cheated openly. He brought women into the house, even around the children. After the second baby, the abuse started. Physical, financial. He forced her to stop working, then refused to give money for food. Grace ran back to the church, to Pastor Pompous, crying, broken. And what does the great prophet do? Does he call the police? Does he kick the guy out of the church? No, he organizes a prayer session. Pastor Pompous prayed, talked, organized sessions. Nothing changed. Samuel behaved for 1 week, then returned to hell. Eventually, he stopped going to church altogether. Papa's final advice to Grace? Just keep praying, Sister Grace. One day, Samuel kicked Grace and the children out so he could move another woman in. Grace went back to her late parents' house. No money, no support. Back to square one and starting over from nothing. 6 years later, she heard a rumor. Daniel moved abroad. He's doing well, married, happy. And Grace? She lives with regret. She's living in her late parents' house, struggling to feed her kids, starting from scratch. Meanwhile, she hears a rumor that Daniel moved abroad and is absolutely crushing it. He's living the dream, while she's living the prophecy. Honestly, if this story doesn't prove that you should listen to your gut instead of a guy with a divine vision, then I don't know what will. Grace didn't lose Daniel because she was wicked. She lost a diamond because she was afraid of a fake curse. She lost him because she was afraid of authority, afraid of curses, afraid of disobedience. But here's the truth for him. God does not need fear to guide love, and anyone who replaces your peace with terror is not speaking for heaven. Sometimes the loudest voice in the room is the most dangerous one. Grace lost a good man, not because God said no, but because fear said yes, and that decision changed her life forever. So, Forum, if you were Daniel and you saw this video, would you forgive her, or would you just keep living your best life in silence? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Peace.